Cult filmmaker John Waters is in Australia at the moment to perform a one-man show called This Filthy World.
The man who made Pink Flamingos, Hairspray and Crybaby and who elevated trash culture to pop art status describes the show as self-help for people who don't need self-help. John Waters joins us now from Sydney. John Waters, good to chat with you again. Is the world a more or less filthy place than when you started making your quite shocking movies all those years ago? Has it got worse or has it got better?
Well, it's gotten better because the sense of humor of everybody else in the world seemed to get closer to mine. I didn't change. My last movie was a comedy about sex addicts. But so I think now what I used to show in underground movies is on TV. Everything's changed.
It's true. Reality TV sort of seems to be almost I guess, the contemporary version of what you were doing years ago. This must be a strange through the looking glass moment for you.
No, to me, reality TV is bad taste, and what I do is good bad taste. And there's a big difference because I look up to my subject matter. I don't make fun of it. I don't feel superior to it.
It's true. That's humiliating TV. And even when your movies have got up close to the strange and the outsider and the weirdo, you've always had great affection for them.
Yes, I think that all the people that I'm always looking up. Bad taste is amazing to me, that people have the freedom of bad taste. I do care what people think. So I know the rules of good taste. That's how I've learned to break them, hopefully, with some humor.
I know you said recently you find it hard to get people outraged these days. In fact, I think it was a comment about public transport in San Francisco that most got people fired up about you.
That was the only thing I ever said that got people angry anymore, that I liked the public transportation system in San Francisco, and there were blogs saying, has he lost his mind? Where anything else I say in my book is, you know, completely role models. I wrote a book where I asked for one of the Manson family to be paroled. Nobody gets upset about that. So it's odd what pushes people's buttons these days.
I should imagine that many people who go to see your stand-up show would want to hear stories about those days of making films in Baltimore with Divine and everyone else. It was pretty rough and ready filmmaking, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was outlaw filmmaking for real. I mean, this was kind of like a political action against the tyranny of good taste. Believe me, no agent sent me headshots of actors that wanted to be in Pink Flamingos.
No, in fact, you were using a lot of your friends and mates and amateur actors.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but every kid starts making movies with his friends. That's what I did, too. But then we used the Hollywood system. Some of the friends got more popular and they clawed their way to the top, like Divine.
Ah, yes, the wonderful Divine. With the ease of digital filmmaking technology around today, would that have helped you greatly? Would that have changed the nature of what you did, do you think?
I think it would have probably made it much easier to make films. Now everybody can get equipment to make movies. Yeah. The difference is distribution. When Pink Flamingos came out, it was before video even, or DVD, or cable television, or anything. So the only way you could see it was to go to a theater at midnight. And I think that it's very few films today can make a sensation as a midnight show. A few can, like The Human Centipede, but very few.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, you see the advent of things like YouTube, which many would regard as turning someone into a global phenomenon overnight. You actually see that as quite limiting.
Well, to me, you do become a global phenomenon overnight, but you don't get offered, if you have a film on YouTube, you don't get offered a directing career in Hollywood. You get offered to run an advertising agency. And it is a different kind of career to take, but it doesn't always end up in the movie world at all.
Your work has always spoken to the outsider, to the kid at school who feels different and doesn't fit in. Does the global popularity now, say, people like Lady Gaga and the non-mainstream characters, say, in a show like Glee, do they indicate to you greater acceptance of difference?
Oh, certainly. Lady Gaga gives every 14-year-old gay boy hope, really. I'm all for it. She's the hardest working woman in show business since James Brown, she is. I'm totally for her.
You've arrived in Australia just as Australian police have decided to clear out the Occupy protesters from two cities, Sydney and Melbourne, unlike many other countries where they've been allowed to stay. What's your view of that action?
Well, that the footage from Melbourne when they were looking pretty rough and grabbing the people will go global and will strengthen very much the movement itself. So in some ways, I'm sure the movement is very glad that happened because in a way, it's a rallying call.
Yeah, and I guess Melbourne was a bit nervous because the Queen is here and is going to be heading down the main street. My view was that she's probably... Go on.
I think the Queen would be nice to those people.
I thought maybe the protesters might be quite pleased to see her too.
Yeah, sure. The Queen is nice to everybody. She could get along there. She could sit down on a little blanket there, and as long as people were polite to her, she would get along fine.
Yep, she's seen most things in this world and some that we haven't either. John Waters.
And she looks great, except the outfits look too hot.
Yeah,
Didn't somebody tell her the seasons are different here?
Yeah. She's heading into a tropical climate. She needs some cool wool. John, really good to chat with you, and have a great time in Australia.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love us, Lady Gaga. Terrific line.
She is. She gives hope to anyone who feels like a weirdo.
Absolutely.